says the reason she's voting for Kamala Harris is because of Tim Walz's LGBTQ stance. Do you know what Tim Walz has done on the LGBTQ front? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay? Here's what's going to happen. A little girl sitting in Wisconsin who's maybe on the spectrum, maybe has acne, maybe is a little heavy set, maybe feels upset because the parents are getting divorced, something like that, is going to find herself down a rabbit hole on Reddit. And her parents aren't going to know because they're getting a divorce and they're not focused on her right now. And she's going to spend hour after hour on that thing, and Reddit's going to tell her she's actually a boy. And she's going to get sucked into this gender cult. And she's going to say, Mom and Dad, I want puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, which will sterilize her and deprive her of all sexual pleasure for the rest of her life. And they're going to say, no, you're a girl. And she's going to say, but I want top surgery, this benign thing. This double mastectomy where I'll have tubes coming out of me and I'll never breastfeed a child. I want that too, because I'm a boy. And they're going to say no. And she's going to go to a judge in Minnesota, and because of Tim Walz, the court will take custody of her, use the Medicaid funds in Minnesota to provide her all of those things, chop off her breasts, sterilize her with the puberty blockers and the cross-sex hormones. And when this girl inevitably comes to the conclusion that she didn't want any of this, that it only added to her problems, which were the divorce and the acne and the puberty and not any trans issue, who is she going to go to then? This is all because of Tim Walz. That's what Minnesota is doing right now to little girls and boys, taking custody away from the parents so that they can have these procedures without any loving parent there to help. And that's what Taylor...
Everybody keeps saying the Minnesota Nice mask finally slipped, and if you've watched even a sliver of the clips, you know exactly why people are worked up. This isn't random internet outrage. It's a credibility fire alarm. The core of it is simple. Megyn Kelly pressed Tim Walz on claiming he carried weapons in war when he never deployed to a war zone, and Michael Strahan put him on the spot about a longer list of eyebrow-raising statements, including his timeline around being in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square crackdown.
No fence is left standing.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools.
If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon. She doesn't just laugh at the contradictions.
Down. That's the headline. That's what you clicked for. And yes, we're going straight at it, because this isn't just a fight over one sloppy sentence. This is a pattern question. What happens when a brand built on steady, folksy trust meets receipts, rewinds, and follow-ups? Stick with me, because in the next few minutes, I'll show you the exact answers he gave, why those answers set off louder alarms than the questions, how the "I just misspoke" defense keeps boomeranging, what that hunting range photo op...
And my record is so pro-choice, Nancy Pelosi asked me if I should tone it down. I stand with Planned Parenthood, and we won.
That just aren't true. And the comment about weapons of war that I carried in war, which you didn't. You said that you were in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre when you weren't. You kind of chalked it all up to bad grammar or getting the dates wrong.
Yeah.
But your opponents say you lied to make yourself look better. Do they have a point?
Well, look, 35 years ago, got the opportunity to be in Hong Kong, be in China, learned a lot about it, served 24 years in the National Guard, passionately, in an instance, talking about...
really did to his everyman persona, and why the debate knucklehead moment keeps getting replayed like a blooper reel at a championship parade. And along the way, we'll test the thing his supporters keep repeating. People know who I am, against the thing his critics are now chanting. We know, and that's the problem. Here's the click confirmation. You're going to hear the Kelly line of attack, the Strahan exchange, and the Walz replies reframed cleanly. And here's the public feeling unfiltered. Folks are mocking the contradictions like...
When you think no one sitting at this table, neither she nor the big white blanket, can embarrass themselves any further, he does. She asks him, to her credit, about
the carrying the weapons in war, which we know is a lie. He never served in war. He's been stealing valor for quite some time.
Like a backyard raccoon caught in a spotlight, and not because they hate the man, but because the story he tells about himself keeps colliding with the footage. Now the twist, because there is one. The calm tone, the tidy bio, the teacher-coach guardsman resume? That was supposed to be his shield. What if the shield itself is the soft spot? What if the thing sold as relatable has become the very stage where the inconsistencies can't help but take a bow? Quick proof. When Kelly pushed on the weapons of war claim and Strahan pressed on the China/Hong Kong timeline, the answers didn't shut the door. They cracked it wider. Roadmap. First, we'll break down the second strongest point, the leadership bioptics problem that shows up in crisis after crisis. Then we'll hit the strongest point, the credibility not around service and timeline claims. After that, we'll run the rest of the pattern. Public safety, pandemic messaging, education and economy rhetoric, and that hunting range clip that turned authentic into awkward in under 10 seconds. Along the way, watch for the phrase he...
Did you come forward?
It is morally indefensible. He didn't care. It was all about him.
He's a military impersonator.
I don't understand how he could do it morally, or you got absolutely no integrity.
The rumor went across the state that he had quit, and it was like, who the hell does that? I mean, it was just unbelievable that a CSM abandoned his troops, 500 soldiers basically, but beyond that, there's 1,000 parents out there that expect that person to lead those people into combat.
He's a habitual liar. He lies about everything. He lies about stuff that doesn't make sense. You're taking a piece of their thunder and you're trying to capture it and put it in a bottle for yourself and use that for your own benefit.
He basically said, I've got better things to do. Go pick somebody else to go on a mission. Well, if you sold out your guard unit and abandoned them, I mean, what are you going to do at the national level?
Fear is a reaction. Bravery is a decision. And Walz has made the wrong decision. He's not brave. I call him a coward because he is.
Leans on, I speak like everyone else, because we're coming back to it more than once. Start with the optics problem, because it's the drum that keeps beating underneath everything else. The image is dialed in, friendly voice, soft edges, Midwestern dad who just happens to run a state. You can practically see the church potluck casserole and the football practice anecdote. Context. That brand works until the world demands hard edges. Protests surge, businesses wobble, schools stall, and a governor has to pick a lane and take the hit that comes with it. Application. Critics say what they saw instead was a politician balancing on one foot, checking the wind, then declaring the direction he was already being pushed. 1 week the message is all safety and mandates, the next it's empathy and patience, the next it's we're listening, which sounds responsible until you realize the listening kept replacing the deciding. Framing. This is expectations versus reality 101. Expectation. A steady hand makes tough calls and owns them. Reality. Restraint without clarity looks like drift. Calm isn't a policy. Composure isn't a plan. And when the cameras turn off, the platitudes don't keep the streets quiet or the classrooms on track. Hold that thought because it comes back when we get to public safety. Now the strongest point, the one Kelly hammered and Strahan revisited, the credibility knot. The stolen valor charge isn't a legal term, it's a moral one, and it's exactly how the critics frame the carried weapons in war line. Walz points to 24 years in uniform. That's real service. But critics aren't attacking the years. They're attacking the sentence. You cannot claim weapons in war if you never stepped into a war zone, they argue. And when pressed, the defense was essentially, I misspoke, I'm passionate, I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Just a regular guy. This is how they keep trying to pass him off as. And it's amazing to me how he has so drastically changed in the last couple of weeks at these rallies. This animated character, jazzed up, coming out, bouncing around. I mean, this is a totally different person than I've covered before. It is wild to see this transformation.
That's interesting because the whole, he's kicking everything around and he's super enthusiastic.
We've never seen this guy before.
Mini cliffhanger. Passion is not punctuation. We'll pay that off in a second. Add to it the Hong Kong/Tiananmen storyline. He said he was in Hong Kong during that infamous summer of 1989, Later explanations tweaked the month, shifted the emphasis, wrapped it in that was profound for me, and doubled down on I speak like everybody else, plus a swipe that he understands China better than political rivals. Application. To supporters, this is nitpicking. He was in the region in '89, he served in the Guard, he taught, he coached, none of that vanishes over phrasing. Framing. To critics, words are the job. Journalists and voters aren't auditing his feelings, they're auditing his facts. And the more the defense leans on I talk like you talk, the more it sounds like I reach for blurry when I need it, return to that passion line. I speak candidly, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, he says, especially when talking about kids shot in schools. No one needs to argue with the emotion. That's shared ground. The question is whether emotion can repeatedly explain away precision. In a vice presidential debate moment that set the tone for the week, he labeled himself a knucklehead to sand down the edges of a fresh misstatement. In isolation, fine, every politician jams a sentence once in a while. But stack knucklehead on I misspoke on I had my dates wrong, and suddenly you're not looking at isolated flubs. You're looking at a style. Context. Politicians survive on repetition. Application. If the line you keep repeating is, I didn't mean it the way it sounded, repetition becomes indictment. Framing. Truth isn't only about intent. It's about accuracy when the stakes are high and the cameras are on. Let's loop the optics thread through public safety, because that's where the gap between expectation and reality turns into a canyon. Minnesota lived through a national trauma. The governor's job in those weeks wasn't to be everyone's friend. It was to be someone's leader. Critics say they saw a man trying to hug the middle so tightly that both sides slipped away. The law and order talk never quite matched the footage on the ground. The empathy never quite translated into order. The result, they argue, was not balance but stalemate, too rough for activists, too soft for neighborhoods just begging to sleep through the night. And here's the pattern interrupt. Posturing near problems is not the same as tackling them. It's the difference between standing next to a kitchen fire with a fire extinguisher and actually pulling the pin. Education got the same treatment in the Kelly roast. The speeches are heavy on words like equity and opportunity, and light on the scoreboard parents stare at, reading and math proficiency. Context. Years of promises and a lot of new spending. Application. Supporters say the investments were overdue and will take time to show results. Critics point to scores that fell anyway and ask how long be patient can be the only plan. Framing. Buying every kitchen gadget doesn't make a meal if nobody cooks. Money is a tool. Outcomes are the job. Expectation. Fund it and fix it. Reality. Funding without accountability is hope dressed up as policy. The economy's sequence writes itself with the same contrast. Minnesota, under his pitch, is stable stewardship. The counter-narrative is tax fatigue and bloat. Pay more, we're working on it. Again, we're not inventing numbers here. We're mapping rhetoric to perception. In politics, the perception curve is brutal. If people feel squeezed while hearing that everything's fine, Minnesota nice turns into Minnesota please. And that's the emotional beat Kelly kept hitting. Less seething rage, more eye-rolling exhaustion. Cue the hunting clip, because nothing flattens a brand faster than an authenticity test you invited yourself. On paper, a pheasant hunting stop is easy points for an everyman governor. On video, it turned into a costume fitting that just wouldn't sit right. If you've seen the moment, you remember the beat, the stance, the grip, the on-camera cue backslash, and what kind of gun is it? A Beretta A400, and a vibe that screamed rental car smile more than Saturday at sunrise regular. Context. It's one tiny clip. Application. It shouldn't matter. Framing. But authenticity is a multiplier. When your resume is under the microscope, every prop becomes evidence. Expectation. This guy lives the life he talks about. Reality. This guy looked like he was borrowing it for the afternoon. Now swing back to the Strahan interview, because this is where the people know me refrain becomes the whole defense. Strahan, who is one of ABC's most audience-savvy interviewers, didn't go for a gotcha. He went for the basics. Some statements aren't true. Did you lie to look better?